Hello, boss. How are you? Nice to see you again. It's been a busy morning, hasn't it? We've talked about a lot today. Yes, what a wonder. What an absolute fitness legend I am. Yes, of course, indeed. Of course, part of this is just me being a trainer and talking to you. And sometimes it comes across a little bit like that. And other times it's just me being genuinely professional about something I'm very passionate about. And it's a little bit of on-screen persona here. I'm based in Sydney. This is behind me. You can't see it because we've got a very shallow depth of field on an 85mm Canon prime lens, which for anybody who understands that, will be like, ooh, a 1.2 indeed. So you can't see what's happening out there today, but there's a lot of rain, a lot of water. And we're going through some of these really important subjects that basically allow us to understand how best to make the most out of our fitness and well-being. And most of this is about understanding that before you hit the gym or get caught up in thinking, oh God, I don't want to do burpees today. There's a lot of things that you can do that are much more important in the long run to sustain good health than just going to the gym and getting absolutely hammered or doing something for the sake of doing it. Those two things, don't need to do them, okay? Your fitness is not dependent. Look, it's great fun when you're young to go and just smash yourself in the gym and to pump up your arms larger than Schwarzenegger's and run around at the beach with your top off. It's great. Every kid should do that. They should have fun and enjoy themselves if they want to. There's no harm in it. I don't see any harm unless they don't take it too far. Don't go on drugs. Don't do all this and that. Be sensible and enjoy yourself. But it gets to a point where we've all gone to university and blah, 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 or not, whatever the case is. And it's all about now, what is the quality of my life? And all of a sudden I realized, ooh, hang on a second, I'm not enjoying this because I'm always tired. I'm always sick. And people say, well, have you exercised? Do you exercise? Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe you don't, maybe you do. But if there's certain things not in place before you get to that point, a lot of what you're doing literally could be a huge waste of time. And this is what we're talking about, moreover, is that some people, or most people, I would say 9 out of 10, look, literally, I would say very few, 95% of people do not understand what it means to be prepared to exercise. And it's all well before you hit the gym floor. The good well-being starts in the kitchen, as they say, or in the supermarket, or a combination of those two things, if you'd like. Because if you're not properly fed, if you're not properly hydrated, and you're not aware of what it is your body's trying to do, or how it works, how the devil are you going to achieve anything? I mean, if you went to work and they didn't tell you what to do and how to do it, you wouldn't achieve anything, would you? I mean, you could sit on Facebook all day and just idle and this feels good. I must be doing something. Of course it's doing something, but the point is, what is it doing? Why is it happening? How do I keep this happening? How do I stop things from happening? How do I prevent getting ill? How do I prevent something that I call suicide in installments? Sitting at a desk all day for 40 years will take its toll on you. What we do repeatedly, we become. So if I sit down all day and assume a sedentary, semi-resting position, my body will adapt very quickly to that. And if I spend 40 years doing that, it will compound itself into that. Now, relativity suggests to get out of that, I need another 40 years. Yes, I can improve it. I can give you some really lame-ass physio exercises to do to correct things that you have allowed to get that way. So what I'm suggesting here and what these videos are about is to express and share with you that fitness is not only the physical, physics moving component, which is my contention is just the tip of the iceberg. It's more about how the body is working on a chemistry or chemical level. And that has to do with what's happening under the hood. Now, this is a process of, it depends on what you believe, of course, and I don't want to say one's right or wrong, but let's say that we're going down the avenue of evolution. Basically, this has evolved over many, many millions of years. Everything about us has. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's assume that I'm not. And we continue along there. Now, all of this advice, remember, is given for people who don't have particular pathologies, who might be affected by advice which isn't based on a medical framework. This is advice based on people who don't have pathologies to worry about. You must take that into concern. If you have any doubt, you've got to ask your doctors about what's appropriate for you, but also bear in mind that some of this information could be something you address with your doctor. One of my particular issues with the modern medical framework is that when you go to the doctor, they don't ask you how much water you've drunk. How much water have you had today? Simple question. How much protein have you had today? I don't know. I haven't been keeping track of it. Well, how long haven't you been keeping track of how much protein you've had every day? Because there's probably a number somewhere of how many grams of protein you need each day, right? Let's just argue that there is. And by not knowing that, what happens is you either create a deficit or a surplus. And again, very few people will be running at a surplus, because if you're unaware of what it is your body is asking for, you will not be able to satisfy that need. So establishing a baseline to begin with is one of the most important parts of how we do this. Now, depending on what your philosophy is, vegan, vegetarian, meat eating, whichever, all of the above, you have to derive a certain amount of protein from your diet each day. You have to have a certain amount of hydration for optimal performance. Like race cars or Formula One cars, the way they mix the formula in the car to get the best out of the engine is dependent very much on the driver, the engine, the technicians, the engineers. They all have this thing that within 1 or 2 milliliters of something can change the performance overall. So why doesn't that apply to us? And the truth is, it does. So in that respect, why is protein so important? Well, fundamentally, protein is expressed as the building blocks of life. Okay, carbohydrate is very important. Fats surround every single cell in your body. If you think you can go without fats, think again. If you think you can do without carbohydrates, your life will be miserable. Now, there's certain types of carbohydrates you can go without, and there's certain types of fats you can go without. And if you compound these each day by the same as sitting at a desk each day, eating the wrong types of protein or carbohydrate, whichever, then you will be a result of that compounded action. That's what's going to happen here. So what we're trying to do, is to give you an insight that if you consistently apply and modify as you go, judging by the results that you achieve based on what it is you've done, you should be able to enjoy a better level of health, where you can look forward to exercise as part of a process of forwarding or enhancing the work that you've done for 24-hour periods. Now, most people won't work out unless you're an extreme athlete, an Olympian, for more than 4 or 5 hours a day. And if you're an office worker, you're definitely not doing that. Very specifically into athleticism, they would have a very structured diet that is administered in a very structured way, and they have to stick to that because they would have been tested and they would have had frameworks based on scientific processes that have been tried and tested previously and then applied to them and modified to meet them specifically. We can still benefit from some of those things, although we're not being as extreme in how we apply these principles, but we still need to satisfy markers, albeit them of a lesser amount. So the lesser amount of protein, a lesser amount of carbohydrate, and a lesser amount of fat throughout the day with adequate hydration. Second to that, we can start thinking about how our posture affects us, how the breathing affects us, and then basically bring in emotional well-being and lifestyle choices, which means not working too much, not getting stressed out, taking everything into consideration to find a balance. And sometimes good health is just doing less, doing nothing. So let's, for example, if you sit at a desk all day and you don't know how much protein you're eating, then you go off and you do a massive workout. It's going to damage your muscles. That's what will happen. So you'll come back to the office, you get changed, you sit down at your desk, you eat your lunch, you don't know how much protein's in there, but your body needs another 20 grams of protein to repair the damage you've just done. Okay, it's waiting for it. It's waiting for a fresh intake, of protein. It's not coming. So the body doesn't go, oh, well, fuck it. We'll just leave it there. It says, okay, so we have to get this from somewhere. So we'll scavenge then from an existing supply inside the body to repair muscles that have just been damaged. So fundamentally, by going out and doing that workout, you have just scavenged from yourself. You've taken from Peter to give to Paul something that you should have given the body to make sure it had adequate resources to repair. So actually sitting at your desk may arguably in some respects have been a better idea if you hadn't considered what the other side of the equation is. So the importance of protein is that, one, you can understand what protein is. Now, there are plant proteins, there are meat proteins, and there are some called essential amino acids, which are fundamentally only found in meat proteins. Now, they say that you can derive them from plant proteins, and I'm not able to argue one way or another. I know what I've had because I choose to eat meat. That's my choice. So I know how that affects me. Now, if I didn't need to eat meat, if I was vegetarian or vegan, I might choose to do it a different way. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It makes it a different way. And therefore, I'd have to find a way of adequately sustaining an equal and opposite amount of the amount of protein that is needed to match up to any physical activity that I do periodically, to prevent an overall downgrading of the existing muscle inside the system, because it's being scavenged to compensate for shortcomings. So fundamentally, each day I try personally to have at least, I weigh 70, 74, depends on the time of the year, but basically I try to have at least, the very least, 1 gram of protein per body weight kilo, which means I have to have at least 74 to 80 grams of protein a day. Now, if you're thinking about how easily available that is, how do I get that into the system? Well, the truth is that the body doesn't really appreciate, or isn't really able to digest properly. That means to absorb the nutrients and to transform via the liver into your metabolism big uptakes of food. So let's say I were to have 80 grams of protein in one hit first thing in the morning and hope for the best. The body would be able to break that down and then sufficiently be able to apply that to the areas that needed it to compensate for the damage that I'd done to my muscles. Are you following me? Okay, fundamentally then, I would then have to say, well, no, the body will only be able to break down so much, then it won't be able to do that. So it'll have to then push through because it's making way for the next meal. And then I would lose out most of that protein. So think about a tin of tuna, one of the small 100-gram tins of tuna. That in there basically has about 20 grams, give or take, of protein, okay? Now, I'll admit that this isn't the most fantastic form of protein because it's in a tin, which means the enzymes in there have started to diminish somewhat anyway, okay? So we would really want to derive protein from fresher foods like eggs, and not so much milk, but I would say from meats and game and poultry and this kind of stuff that allows us to get the quality of enzymes, not only the quantity, which is 20 grams per meal, but also the quality. So the quality of the enzymes, because this is freshly slaughtered meat and is on my plate within 2 or 3 phases. So chicken to slaughterhouse to supermarket onto my plate. Doesn't go through this process of being put through into a tin and added preservatives added to it and then being sitting there for 6 months before it actually gets onto my into my liver and broken down. So I'm trying to think, if I'm going to have the protein, how I can do that in advance, ahead of time. So I have to think, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Now, the truth is, if you go to the supermarket, you'll find there's meat that's got 2 days left on it and it's half price. They've reduced it down because there's only a day left on it. But if you're eating that meat within 24 hours, the quality of the protein is higher, the quality of the enzymes therein is higher, and therefore the benefit that you derive by spreading out those quotas of protein throughout the day will be much better. Okay, so if you're not thinking strategically, like little airdrops throughout the day and joining up these dots, so 4 or 5 small meals through the day which are rich in protein, which satisfy all of the needs based on your weight, based on your workout, based on what it is you're trying to achieve, based on what your preferences are. So you'll have to work a lot harder to get that protein out of nuts, taking then into consideration all those protein in those nuts. They've been dried out, but of the enzymes is less, and they could have been in a sack somewhere for 6 months gathering mold as well. So that has a different effect on your body. And that starts to affect your immune system, the way your body is able to defend itself. So always going for the fresh and seasonal foods, the things that you can put together in basic components. Now, look, my meals are different. I get a little bit funny about it because I'm not interested in going to restaurants and ordering their food without realizing how fresh it is or what's been put into it and what the source of it is. So I know I'm still covering my macros. I make sure my macros are covered and that the quality of that meat is going to really serve the bitching workout I just had beforehand, because I put my heart and soul into that. So why would I feed it some substandard shit after that? So that means I have to be quite mindful of it. And it means strategizing and project managing all of your meals and uptake. So I'll have the eggs in the morning, I'll have some fruit mid-morning, I'll have my lunch with more protein, but then breaking down into vegetables, protein, whichever's there, to make sure I'm covering those bases, try and derive some hydration from that food, try and derive some minerals and vitamins from that food, so I don't have to take supplements, which have also been broken down, packaged and put on a shelf, left there for 6 months, and then I'm introducing them to my body. So the enzymes and the quality of that stuff, the food is already diminished. It's not as good for you. So fresh food from the shelf, which is again usually on special offer, because anything that's seasonal and growing in abundance, they knock it out. Strawberries, you know, all that kind of stuff. Fresh fruit, get it through. Get it while it lasts. Go back and get the next thing the next day. Try as much as you can to avoid processed sugars and packaged foods, because although they have on the actual label itself a lot of protein listed, that was the state that it was in before it was processed. And after that, the quality of the enzyme, there's no legal need to register how fresh the enzymes in that food are. And those are fundamentally part of how your body uses that and keeps you supple and firm, and really derives a huge benefit from not only the metabolism part of it, but the quality of that food that you've put in. So it takes a little bit more. But once you get a hang of it, so for example, you start being able to say on my plate, this is this, this is this. It might not be some big elaborate meal, but I'm covering my bases. What's important to you? Is it flavor? Is it variety? Is it going out and getting sloshed and drowning your food in alcohol, and making it impossible for the body to separate those things? Or is it about being able to say, well, I want to age pain-free. I do not want diabetes type 2. I don't want cancer of the colon. I have to think about these things to minimize, without becoming overly obsessive about it, a little bit of forethought. You can still have a good life, but it's a choice. It's a lifestyle choice. And if you're feeling lethargic and groggy and the doctor's just ushering you off to tablets, or if there's something wrong with you, to surgery, or to a specialist who just wants to cut you open before they've even asked you, how much protein are you on? And a lot of this physio stuff that they do, they should be asking you, how much protein are you on? You've hurt your muscles, and they're giving you exercises to repair those pathologies, but they haven't asked you how you're doing on the inside, what you're doing, and the most important part, on the chemistry, which is to repair those muscles and to make sure that they're able to cope and to rebuild themselves with every last little bit that they need. So again, like I've said before, you open up your body theoretically, and it's like it's Christmas inside. Every last bit that you need has been provided to your body, and it takes just what it needs out. And the rest of it lets it go. And then you try and learn not to put too much in, and to keep introducing periodically. I call it the Cinderella effect. Every 24 hours, the counter is set to 0 again. It doesn't matter what you've had yesterday. Of course, it mattered yesterday, but cumulatively, I haven't built up a deficit that keeps on getting worse every day. I neglect myself and say, oh, I had chicken on Friday. Well, it doesn't matter what you had on Friday. Really, does it? It matters what you've had today, 3 hours ago. And then how I'm going to continue to make sure that I'm prepared enough not to let work dominate me into a point where, fucking hell, I can't work. I can't eat properly because work's just giving me too much shit. That's not the way of life. I say this to some people, you know, and they really find it hard to struggle. I see them so ill. They come to me when everything else has failed. And I say to them, when you were a little boy or a little girl, was this your fucking idea of your dream? This is what you imagined your life would be like as an adult? Gray, miserable, stressed out, undernourished, dehydrated, depressed. These are things that we can manage. It doesn't need a gym membership. It needs the preparation, the foresight, the being able to understand that what I do is relative. It's logical, it's scientific. It doesn't need to be fanciful detox. It needs to be something that I do in perpetuity if I want to continue to enjoy the benefits of good health and good well-being. And that's all there is to it. If I don't do that, they say those who do not find time for health will have to find time for illness. And I think that's the Earl of Derby. But it's very true. Everything you choose comes at the cost of something else. And anything that's important to you, you make time for. If you don't, well, these things languish and perish, and it's like blowing in the wind there. Will it, won't it last? Are my genes good enough? Will there be something in there that I could have managed? Will my posture become so bad that it causes all my organs to just cramp up and become less efficient? Well, of course, everything has a knock-on effect. Body's no good at magic. You need to take care of your body by doing the little gentle things, the caressing kind things that you do, to a dog. You'd feed it, you'd comb it, you'd clean it, you'd take it for walks, fleas. Why not do that for yourself? It's a little project management that goes a long way. Now, so if you need more help with your protein, of course, you're going to have to talk to a specialist and get the right advice for you. This is so important. If you don't know what it is you're eating or what it is you're putting in there, or you're just eating sandwiches because your mum always gave them to you, or you like this kind of beer, or whatever you're doing, it has an effect. And if you're unhappy with something, if you're happy being an alcoholic, why would you change? If you like being a big fat pig with diabetes type 2, why would you change that? But if you're struggling to find a way out of the darkness, and you're despondent and upset because of your weight, nobody gets that way because of salads. Nobody gets that way because they thought out what it was they're feeding themselves. That's the catch here. This is what I'm all about. This is about being aware of what you're doing, not making excuses for what you're doing, not giving yourself bullshit let-outs of, oh, well, I'll start tomorrow. Okay, fair enough. That's your choice. There's no need to be upset or angry or guilt trip you. There's just choice. Your decision will be what you become. And if you want to live a happier, more healthy life, start with those two things. What's my protein uptake? How much water? And then how frequently you do both. So I'm here. My name's Pat. You can email me at pat@ilovept. I've been doing this for many years. I've got a lot of experience and I'm here to help. And I can help you around the world with the thanks of the internet. Isn't that wonderful? So give me a call, send me a message, any questions that you have. I know I don't have any viewers again, but that's common for me, no views, but that's fine. We're gonna keep on doing these videos and build up a nice volume for you, and anything we can help you with, just give me a call and we'll do it online. If you're in Sydney, you can come along and join in the session. We can spend some time, sit down and assess everything from start to finish, specific to you, not some generic book. To you. We'll find a way that works for you. What's specific to you? How do we make this work? And that's my promise for you, okay? In the meantime, I love you. Thank you for watching. If you want to donate, I think there's a little link on there. You can give me anything you like. I'm happy to take nothing. This is from passion, but obviously it keeps the wheels in motion. Give me as much as you like or nothing. It's fine. But give me a shout if you'd really like to find out more about how you can understand your body better. Okay, buddy. See you soon. I'll be back in a few minutes. I think I'm going to do a surprise one now, as if these weren't surprise enough. Anyway, see you soon. Bye.